With a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledged each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. With a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. These words show a determination far above what most of us have ever experienced. It represents to these people everything they owned, everything they would ever own, everything they believed in, everything they knew in their world, including their loves. Failure was not an option for these people, so they made a solemn pledge with each other, and then they signed it. With a strong reliance of God, they pledged. Everything they owned, they pledged. Their lives, their fortune, their honor, they pledged. They would succeed or they would die trying. If they failed, it would most certainly cost them their lives, and actually the entire country, because these are the last words of the Declaration of Independence, where the first Americans stood and said, "No more." Our founders pledged this in ink, and some later in their own blood. Everything they were, everything they have, their fortunes and their lives. Since the 8 years of the Revolutionary War that broke these United States into a free country, over 1.35 million Americans' lives were deeded into the hallowed ground as they gave the ultimate sacrifice while serving this beautiful country. To put this into perspective, this is every man, every woman, and every child in the 12 counties from here to beyond Traverse City. That is, every man, every woman, every child, everyone in Ottawa, Kent, Muskegon, Newaygo, Oceana, Lake, Mason, Wexford, Manistee, Benzie, Leelanau, and Grand Traverse counties. Every single one. Every man, every woman, and every child turned soldier and killed in service to the country, forging piece by piece this country that we have come to know and love today. This represents a whole lot of decimation and is multiplied by every family affected by each loss of their loved ones across the nation. Because these stalwart Americans gave such valiant effort, we have the responsibility to carry the torch of freedom. We cannot sit on our laurels riding the wave of their successes. It is up to each and every American to carry the torch of freedom. Some have already carried that torch. Some carry the scars to prove it. Yet others still carry the scars on their hearts from the loneliness of the lost loved one who had given their lives in service to this fine nation. There were times when the service was not always given freely. Some were drafted, others given the choice to serve or else. And today we run the largest volunteer military in the history of the world, because America is worth fighting for. And you belong to a nation that is changing and shaping the world. Over 50 million Americans has stood the unwavering guard post at night in the jungles, at day in the deserts, upon the seas and in the air, some performing their civic duty, and some 1.4 million Americans still serving today to be sure that we could congregate just like this at a civic function or political rally without fear. These stalwart warriors fight in the name of freedom every day and provide our security from those who would bring harm to this nation. 1.35 million Americans died giving birth to and providing daily care for a nation that stands for freedom of speech, freedom to gather, and so much more. These heroic Americans fought until they had no more. No more to give, taken from their lives, their fortune, but never, no, never, their sacred honor. To ask our warriors what they did in their wars, did they kill anyone? Did they see anyone die? Many will simply say, I made it back. Those words say it all. My military service did not take me there, but I know many who were. I've talked with many of them, and scored into their memories are things that no man should ever see in a lifetime. When they do speak of war, with a faraway look in their eyes, some talk of 2,000-pound bombs shaking the entire earth as they explode with such ferocity. You cannot tell if it's your knees shaking, the ground shaking, or both. They have described the sights and smells of napalm strikes day after day, week after week, missile launches, missile defense systems, not knowing if the next destructive force has their name on it. There's no rhyme or reason to the casualties of war and how they're determined. The dead deserve unending dedication from the rest of us, that we will not allow their lives to have been taken away in vain, and all of them way too young. The dedication to these ideals of these heroes manifests itself daily in you and I as we stand in our own communities, standing up for our communities, not allowing lawlessness and subversion. We own our streets, our neighborhoods, and our country. Let us not identify ourselves by who we vote for in an election, but what we accomplished as individuals and collectively as a nation. Our survivors possess a courage that most of us will never know. It's not so easy reacclimating to America. You change from being in a war zone where the enemy's sole mission is to end your life immediately, if not sooner, and who will stop at nothing to do it, to a gathering here in the United States where most of the people have no clue of the horrors knocking just outside of their tender glass houses. Back home, many of you are still fighting the images in your minds of things that you've seen and done that no one should see or do. But that was the job. It was the price that you paid for others' freedom. Returning home, you wake up in a cushy bed, terrorized and panicked with the sounds of war in your mind, then lie awake in your bed at home. You don't know what to do. So you get up, you do a security check around the house, you watch outside, you ready yourself for your enemy, you're shaken to the core of your soul, and at the same time, you can't justify standing a watch like that here and now in your own home. From being a civilian to a war zone and back to a civilian life, nobody on the planet can tell you what that is like. Changing from a war zone in your mind and then seeing little Johnny and Jane playing chalk or guns in the driveway is such a clash of worlds, it's hard to wrap your mind around. For those still fighting their wars after coming home, I say this: never give up. You didn't give up in the military service. Never give up now. You are living heroes. And as you know, the only easy day was yesterday. For those still fighting this kind of war, please get help. You are our hometown heroes. We want you here. We need you here. And we thank you. The enemy didn't get you there. Don't let them get you here. Please get help and know that you never walk alone. I personally know several members who've gotten counseling, and it's helped them immensely. There is no shame in it. We want you to. We beg you to. We are your people, and collectively we have your back. This then is the mission, too, of Memorial Day, to reach out in support of all the soldiers and their families who have sacrificed so much for us, along with our prayers of remembrance and celebration of freedom. The loss of each military member is a profound tragedy for family and community. The cavernous hole left by the absence of a loved one is a constant, and it's happened over 1.35 million times in this country's history. The soldiers, sailors, and Marines and airmen that go out today know that they might not make it back. They go anyway. Why, you ask? Because it's to protect you, the sons, the daughters, the spouses, and the ideal of America and what it would be if only a little bit of what they had rubbed off on us. The wounds of war are new again and never seem to go away, because we live in a world that we have to defend ourselves, our allies, and the weak who cannot defend themselves. The fiery torch of freedom has lit and smoothed the roads of opportunity for countless Americans. And now it's up to every generation today, and future generations yet unknown, to burn that torch brightly and continue carrying that torch into the future. Let us do our part in ensuring that the America that we leave to those future generations is glowing as brightly as our generation could make it burn. Because we did not allow complacency to creep in during our watch. It is a great honor for me on many levels to be here speaking with you today as an American in these United States of America. I am privileged to have a very short note in the majestic symphony of this country by being permitted and invited to talk with you today. Now, as you go from here and you enjoy the beautiful tranquility of these exceptional United States, be it here, a cookout in your backyard, or any place else across this enchanting country, from sea to shining sea, know that a final chapter for these heroes that we celebrate today is never fully written. It is permanently etched in the freedom of every American forevermore. And it continues to be written on the hearts and opportunities of every American. Take the deepest breath you can and breathe the air of democracy, freedom, and the American way as we celebrate the fervid lives of our departed freedom fighters, whose bodies have perished upon this earth and whose souls have been commended to God's tender care. With tremendous gallantry and intrepidity, above the call of duty and in the face of grave danger, these patriots have passed to you in your care the responsibility of protecting and promoting the American United States Constitution and all that is contained therein. The fiery torch of freedom is now your responsibility. Please care for it and burn it brightly. In a moment, you'll hear taps played on a trumpet, which is played at every military funeral. Remember these words, to believe to be the original words to taps. Day is done, gone the sun. From the hills, from the lake, from the skies, all is well. Safely rest. God is nigh. Thank you. God bless the United States of America.